get the guns, the drugs from my generation. I'll take the fall, the saints, and across the nation. And it's a sex, the gods, the fakes, the fraud, they're messing with me. Come on, come on, come on, let's get it out. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
Welcome back to Reliving the War, and thank you for joining me as we look back at every Raw vs Nitro Monday Night ratings battle. We are now at the 22nd of January 1996. The WWF is live tonight from Stockton, California, and Nitro is also live from Las Vegas, Nevada. WCW has set up their ring in Caesar's Palace for a 2-night stretch. They'll be hosting the Clash of the Champions the night following this episode of Nitro. So let's look at the 1996 Royal Rumble results before getting started. The Royal Rumble was held in Fresno, California. A few empty seats were visible throughout the show, giving us an example of how bad business had got for the WWF during this time period. Anyway, Ahmed Johnson defeated Jeff Jarrett in the opening match. It wasn't great, to be honest. The Smoking Guns defeated the Body Donnas in another average bout that didn't have much going for it despite the talent involved in the ring. The bizarre Goldust was able to defeat Razor Ramon to become the new Intercontinental Champion due to the 1-2-3 Kids interference. And in the Royal Rumble match itself, Shawn Michaels made his triumphant return, winning the whole thing and stamping his ticket to the WrestleMania XII main event. HBK eliminated his friend Diesel at the very end with a super kick. Also of note was the debut of Vader. Vader was eliminated by Shawn Michaels, but the big man destroyed everyone in the ring after his elimination. It was hard to imagine Vader winning the Royal Rumble due to the hype Shawn Michaels had going into the pay-per-view, but all signs pointed to a big push in Vader's future. Bret Hart was disqualified in his WWF title defense against The Undertaker when Big Daddy Cool Diesel showed up, pulling the referee out of the ring when Taker had the Hitman beat. The Royal Rumble match was decent, but the rest of the show was kind of mediocre. Bret vs Taker should have been special, but the weak finish really did ruin things. Keep in mind the match was nearly half an hour long. Investing this much time into a match only for it to end with a run-in felt a little cheap. But anyway, with Bret leaving the pay-per-view as champion and Shawn winning the Rumble, the Hitman vs the Heartbreak Kid WrestleMania main event had been penciled in, and it also looked like Diesel was going to face The Undertaker in the very near future. WWF Raw kicks off with highlights from the Royal Rumble show as Vince McMahon says that this is the dawn of a new era in the World Wrestling Federation, apparently. We're going to see the new Intercontinental Champion Goldust taking on the WWF Champion Bret Hart in the main event. We're going to hear from the Royal Rumble winner Shawn Michaels, and we're also going to see Click Buddies Razor Ramon and Hunter Hearst Helmsley battle in the ring. The WWF are now truly on the road to WrestleMania XII, and with WCW breathing down their necks, it's going to be an interesting few weeks on WWF Raw. Over on Nitro, things are looking pretty stacked as the commentary team tell us about tonight's WCW matches. The WCW Tag Team titles will be on the line when Sting and Lex Luger challenge Harlem Heat for the gold. We'll also have the WCW Championship Match with champion Ric Flair defending against Randy Savage. And Hulk Hogan will be working with the one-man gang in the main event, albeit in a non-title match. Remember, Gang is our United States champion. Conan makes his first Nitro appearance here, showing up during the opening announcements and challenging Psychosis to a match at Clash of the Champions. Conan was the AAA America's champion at the time, and the vast majority of people didn't know who Conan nor Psychosis were. But anyway, Conan versus Psychosis tomorrow night at Clash of the Champions. It's time for our first matches then. Nitro kicks things off with the WCW Heavyweight Championship match, while the WWF presents Savio Vega versus Vader. Jim Cornette is in the ring to announce the arrival of Vader, telling the fans that it's Vader time before Leon White makes his way down to the ring. Savio Vega looks worried, and he should be. Vader looks like he wants to rip someone's head off. This can't be overlooked either, but Vader is wearing his singlet backwards. He also wore it backwards at the Royal Rumble, and every now and then he would continue to wear it backwards for reasons unknown. He even wore it backwards back in 1995 WCW. Maybe nobody wanted to tell him it was on gone the wrong way, who knows. The match starts off then with Vader intimidating his sacrificial lamb. Vega gets overpowered before getting thrown into the corner. Vader decides to lay in some stiff punches and every strike finds its mark. Vader then goes for a corner splash, but Vega moves out of the way, allowing Savio to kick Vader out of the ring, but Vader makes easy work of his opponent on the outside. When we get back inside the ropes, Vader destroys Savio with more punches before successfully delivering that corner splash. Vader then follows up with the Vader Bomb and it's all over. A great debut match that was straight to the point. Vader had an incredible presence here. He was initially booked as a complete monster, and this is what Vader should have always been. Jim Cornette has a few words with the Mastodon and it looks like Vader is going to continue the attack. Poor Savio gets slammed to the mat and another Vader Bomb is delivered. The referee tries to put a stop to the attack, but Vader isn't listening. The ref gets taken out as McMahon and Lawler put over Vader's lack of empathy. Another referee hits the ring, and by now even Jim Cornette is trying to reason with Vader, but it's no good. The ref gets powerbombed as Vader goes on a complete rampage. WWF President Gorilla Monsoon comes to the ring, and this next part was done so well. Vader and Gorilla get in each other's faces. Monsoon isn't afraid of Vader, and Jim Cornette is trying to be the voice of reason. Gorilla tells the ring announcer to let the fans know that Vader has now been suspended, and this leads to another confrontation that sees Gorilla Monsoon delivering some chops to Vader. Gorilla is not backing down. Monsoon goes to check on the referee once again as Cornette is screaming at Vader to stop. Vader doesn't listen and a corner splash is delivered to Monsoon. A Vader Bomb is then delivered to the WWF President, and this prompts Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon to run in for the save. Vader and Cornette get out of the ring and we then go to commercial break. When we come back, we see Cornette backstage with Vader. Vader declares war on all WWF wrestlers and officials, and then a trash can feels the wrath of the Mastodon. Absolutely fantastic work here by the World Wrestling Federation. Vader's introduction to WWF audiences was done so well, and the company now had a new big heel at their disposal. Over on Nitro, Randy Savage gets brought out to the arena with a string of ladies. Of note here is that Linda Hogan is one of Savage's valets, along with Nancy Sullivan. Savage says to Mean Gene at the entranceway that the Macho Man is hot tonight, and before Randy can go to the ring for his match, Hulk Hogan makes an appearance, wishing the Macho Man good luck in his WCW title match before telling his best friend that the Hulkster is next in line for a title shot. Savage and his entourage of women make their way to the ring. The Nature Boy makes his entrance with Jimmy Hart, and we have a WCW title match to kick things off on Nitro, both shows starting off pretty strong this week on Reliving the War. Eric Bischoff reveals Hogan and Savage's secret weapon for Clash of the Champions. Miss Elizabeth is making her return to wrestling and she'll be in the corner of the Mega Powers during their tag match at the Clash. Quite a big deal here that feels wasted with an announcement on commentary. So for whatever reason, Savage has become enamoured with the ladies this week in WCW. Between Woman, Miss Elizabeth and the Hulkster's wife, Savage was snapping into a copious amount of Slim Jims. The Nature Boy has some history with Woman. Flair tries to get a little kiss from Nancy, but he gets a slap in the face. Savage goes on the attack on the outside, and for whatever reason, the bell rings to start the match while the competitors are outside the ring. Flair gets the upper hand on the outside, but Savage is able to take control after delivering a clothesline inside the ropes. The Macho Man's momentum doesn't last long, however. The Nature Boy uses Jimmy Hart to cause a distraction that results in Savage getting thrown over the top rope, allowing Jimmy to also get in a sneaky attack. Savage gets thrown over the guardrail as Nitro prepares to take a commercial break. We see Savage missing a double axe handle from the top rope before the commercials begin rolling. When we come back, Savage is mounting a comeback that results in Flair going over the top rope. The Nature Boy gets thrown into the guardrail, and when the match gets back inside the ring, ring, Flair is begging for mercy as Savage begins firing up. Flair does his famous face first bump before getting back to his feet to bring the fight back to Savage. The figure 4 is then applied as the Nature Boy uses the middle rope for leverage. The referee sees Flair cheating and the hold is forcefully broke up. Flair delivers his knee drop before going to the top rope, and you know what's coming next. Savage slams Flair to the mat before delivering 2 double axe handles from the top rope. Savage signals for the elbow drop, but Jimmy Hart jumps on the apron, allowing Arn Anderson to make an appearance with some brass knucks. Flair holds Savage up, but Double A ends up smashing Flair with the international object. Real American and all-round great guy Hulk Hogan shows up to take out Double A. Savage goes to the top rope, the elbow drop is delivered, and 1, 2, 3, we have a new champion crowned on Nitro. Strangely, the bell was ringing before Savage got the pin. It's a little confusing to say the least, but the official result is a win for Randy Savage. A World Heavyweight title change on a Monday night TV show is quite remarkable. This was the first time it happened, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. After the match, Savage calls out Hulk Hogan for celebrating around the ring like he had just won the match himself, and Savage says that Hogan was embarrassing himself. Hogan says he just helped Savage win the match by taking out Double A, and Hogan reminds Savage that the Hulkster wants a shot at the WCW title. Savage tells Hogan that he'll need to become the #1 contender for that to happen. Hogan pretty much says that it will happen, and the segment closes with Mean Gene announcing that Miss Elizabeth and Kevin Green of the Pittsburgh Steelers will escort the Mega Powers to the ring tomorrow night at the Clash of Champions. It's a difficult choice I have to make here, but I'm giving the first point to Raw. The WWF produced something really different here, and Vader was seemingly a made man after this attack on Gorilla Monsoon. A WCW title change on Nitro was a big deal back then, and the match was pretty good too, but the fact that Hulk Hogan had to get involved once again really does leave a sour taste here. Also, you have to wonder why Ric Flair didn't go for Savage's injured arm during the entire match. Nevertheless, 2 great openings here for both Raw and Nitro. The man of 1,000 holds, Dean Malenko, takes on Brian Pillman next on Nitro, while the former Intercontinental Champion Razor Ramon does battle with Hunter Hearst Helmsley on Raw. As the Raw match gets underway, we see Ted DiBiase and the Kid via split screen, calling Razor Ramon a crybaby before producing a baby's bottle and a diaper from nowhere. Back in the ring, Vince McMahon says he never heard Razor Ramon crying about losing the IC title, and yeah, Razor didn't cry about it, so this whole angle the WWF were starting here, which would lead to a crybaby match, did feel like it was plucked from thin air. But anyway, Hunter is trying to apply a wrist lock in the ring, but Razor stops that by punching Helmsley in the mouth. Things start off in a rather typical manner. Razor stays on the attack while shutting down any attempts Hunter makes at building offense of his own. When we come back from commercials, Razor gets crotched on the top rope while Helmsley's valet looks on. Hunter is now firmly in control as Razor gives Helmsley a lot of time on the attack. Jerry Lawler is trying to get a word with Hunter's valet as the Blue Blood continues to destroy Ramon in the ring. You get the feeling that Razor was bumping a lot here because Hunter was his buddy. We didn't really see Razor going for long periods without offense, especially on Monday Night Raw, but here, Hunter is coming across more vicious and more capable than ever. The 1, 2, 3 Kid makes an appearance, shoving the baby bottle in Razor's mouth. This leads to Razor chasing Kid around the ring, and Hunter wins via countout. The Kid escapes. The bad guy tries to deliver the Razor's Edge on Hunter, but he can't nail it. Hunter gets out of dodge with his valet, and the match is over. Flipping over to Nitro, we have Dean Malenko versus Brian Pillman. Dean Malenko is on the receiving end of a few chops from the loose cannon, but the Iceman fights back, going for the cloverleaf early, but Pillman makes it to the ropes. Brian takes a time out to shout at the fans at ringside as this unhinged character continues to intrigue. Pillman throws Malenko off his game when Brian begins shouting at the cameraman at ringside, and when Pillman is able to smother Malenko on the mat, Pillman shouts that he's a shooter and he has a full metal jacket. Brian is losing the plot more and more each week, and it does make for some great TV. Pillman slaps Malenko across the face, and this fires up Malenko. Dean brings the fight to Pillman, but Brian answers with a tornado DDT that finds its mark. Pillman doesn't go for the pin, preferring to lay in a few stiff chops, but Malenko is able to perform a Tiger Bomb that only gets him a 2 count. The fight spills to the outside briefly. Brian goes for the tornado DDT once again inside the ring, but Malenko counters it, leading to Malenko Malenko delivering a gutbuster that Pillman sells like a champ. The finish here was quite unique, but it was also quite stupid. Dean gets his foot caught in the bottom and middle ropes, and Bryan takes advantage, scoring the pinfall win when Dean obviously had nowhere to go. The problem here is that referee Nick Patrick clearly sees Dean's foot caught in the ropes, but he counts anyway. It would have made much more sense if Patrick was distracted and standing anywhere else but right beside Dean Malenko, but yeah, a good idea for a finish, but the execution was a little sloppy. I'm still giving the point to Nitro though. Malenko and Pillman wrestled a better match, and the loose cannon gimmick is really captivating. Pillman really does feel spontaneous and unpredictable, and for me, he's became one of WCW's most interesting wrestlers. Billionaire Ted's wrestling war room, and a Shawn Michaels interview goes up against a WCW Tag Team title match, Lex Luger and Sting versus Harlem Heat. In the war room, Billionaire Ted says he's getting tired of copying the WWF's ideas. He wants his team to come up with something new. The team looks completely puzzled. One guy keeps writing WWF over and over again on his notepad, the huckster has a nap, and suddenly Scheme Gene comes up with an idea, but in order to hear the idea, Gene's co-workers will have to phone Gene's hotline. The segment ends with everyone in the room, except Ted, pulling out their phones to make the call. Shawn Michaels then comes to the ring for an interview with Vince McMahon. I've talked about this before, but McMahon's pandering to HBK is really unbearable during this time period. Shawn did not need it at all, but Vince acts like Shawn is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it grows really old really fast. Anyway, HBK says he's on a 3-step program. He's completed step 1 by winning the Royal Rumble, step 2 is getting to WrestleMania, and step 3 is winning the WWF Championship. Shawn, however, wants to take care of Owen Hart. Owen had been running around telling everyone that it was the King of Hearts that put HBK on the injured list, and Shawn wants to teach Owen a lesson. Jim Cornette comes to the ring telling Shawn that Owen has nothing to prove by stepping into the ring with the Heartbreak Kid. Cornette reminds Shawn that it's he who signs Owen's match contracts, and a match pitting Owen versus Shawn simply has no benefit for the King of Hearts. Shawn offers Jim money to face Owen Hart, but Cornette has a better idea. Cornette suggests an Owen Hart versus Shawn Michaels match where HBK's title shot is put up for grabs. Cornette steals the show by pretending to cry when Shawn goes on about his journey towards WrestleMania. Cornette doesn't care about Shawn's path to the WWF title. Jim wants to manage Owen Hart in the WrestleMania 12 main event. Shawn agrees to the match after getting his fans' approval. Cornette gets thrown out of the ring, and that's pretty much it. Credit to Jim Cornette here. Anytime Cornette was spared some time on the mic, he always made the most of it. I don't really care what anyone thinks of Jim nowadays. He always delivered on the mic, and he was always a perfect mouthpiece for heel wrestlers. Harlem Heat come to the ring to defend the WCW Tag Team titles against Sting and Lex Luger, two friends who have had a really odd relationship. Luger and Stevie Ray start things off. Stevie is completely destroying the total package in the opening moments of the match, and Harlem Heat are able to outsmart Lex when Booker T causes a distraction on the apron. Eventually, Booker and Sting are tagged in. Sting completely cleans house with multiple Stinger splashes, but Stevie Ray is able to break up a Scorpion Deathlock attempt. It's now Sting's turn to take some punishment. Stevie Ray and Booker T are wrestling like a well-experienced tag team here while Luger keeps distracting the referee. Sting finds himself in an armbar. The hold is broken up when both men get to their feet, but Sting is unable to mount a comeback. Harlem Heat's experience is coming into play as the commentators keep reminding us that Sting desperately needs to tag out. Harlem Heat by this point are destroying Sting. Sting tries to fight out of Booker T and Stevie Ray's corner, but he keeps getting shut down. Lex Luger isn't doing his partner any favours by keeping the referee busy as the audience begins rallying behind the Stinger. After applying a chin lock, Booker T goes to the top rope and a Harlem hangover is missed when Sting moves out of the way. Sting makes the tag, but the referee doesn't see it. Jimmy Hart makes an appearance and he hands something to Luger when the action spills to the outside. Some sort of international object. And Lex Luger doesn't look suspicious here at all, by the way. He looks completely normal and he doesn't have anything behind his back. Sting makes the tag once again. Lex Luger clocks Booker T with a roll of silver dollars. 1, 2, 3, and we have new tag team champions. Again, Nick Patrick, man, there's literally money laid out all over the ring and Patrick pretends to see nothing. What a shit referee. Still, another title change here on Nitro. Sting is unaware that the win was tainted while Lex is over the moon. I'm giving the point to Nitro this time. Jim Cornette nearly got the point for Raw, but all in all, I enjoyed the WCW Tag Team match a little more. One Man Gang vs Hulk Hogan is next on Nitro, while WWF Champion Bret Hart battles IC Champion Goldust on Raw. Before the main event, it's announced that Diesel will battle Davey Boy Smith next week on Raw, while Shawn Michaels meets Yokozuna one-on-one. Goldust makes his way to the ring with Marlena. Marlena made her debut at the Royal Rumble, and at this point in time, Marlena was referred to as Goldust's director. Bret gets a great ovation on his way to the ring. McMahon and Lawler say that Bret Hart suffered a knee injury last night at the Royal Rumble, and it also looks like Bret Hart has a black eye due to his match with The Undertaker. As both men begin circling the ring, McMahon announces that Bret Hart will defend the WWF title against Big Daddy Cool Diesel inside a steel cage at In Your House 6. I'll cover that event when the time comes. Goldust and the Hitman lock up, and just as Bret brings Goldust to the corner, we go to commercial break, so we miss the complete start of this match, unfortunately. When we come back, Goldust fights his way out of a hammerlock, and he brings the offense to Bret in the corner. Goldust begins targeting Bret's arm, bringing the Hitman down to the mat, but Bret is able to launch Goldust out of the ring. Things get a little silly when Raw goes to another commercial break. There was about a minute of action here in between commercials, and it seriously hurts the flow of this match. When we come back for the second time, Goldust once again has the upper hand. Bret has to fight his way out of a wrist lock this time, and I couldn't help but notice that referee Tim White is seriously distracted by something here. He's shouting Bret's name and trying to give a cue while looking straight at the entranceway. Bret again throws Goldust out of the ring. Goldust and Marlena look like they have had enough, but Razor Ramon greets Goldust at the entranceway, tossing Goldust back into the ring as Bret Hart gives a thumbs up to the bad guy. Another commercial break. That's 3 in one match, and when we come back, Bret hits a second rope clothesline, a Russian leg sweep, sharpshooter, and it's all over. Way to bury your new Intercontinental Champion also here, Vince. I had really high hopes for this one, and I did say I wouldn't complain about commercial breaks because it's simply an unavoidable reality of weekly television wrestling shows, but it's hard to ignore 3 commercial breaks in one main event. You don't get a chance to settle in for the bout at all, and it's also quite shocking that Goldust would get beaten so soundly after just winning the IC title. Hulk Hogan vs One Man Gang doesn't sound very appealing either, but the WCW main event has a chance now. Who do you think's going to win this one? I know it's fucking hard to pick a winner, isn't it? Hulk and Gang start the match out by hugging each other into the corner. Hogan lands a few punches before going for the big boot. OMG dodges the attack only to get punched on the apron, giving the Hulkster a little time to ham it up. Hogan overcomes the One Man Gang's attacks on the outside. The Hulkster is now pretty much destroying the United States champion as the fight gets back in the ring. Hulk pokes Gang in the eye and even bites his head. The referee lets it all fly. Gang fights back, delivering a body slam followed by a big splash, but Gang doesn't go for the pin. This allows Hogan to jump up and begin hulking up. The Las Vegas audience is booing the match at this point. The Hulkster sends One Man Gang from corner to corner. Big boot, body slam, leg drop, and it's over. I'm giving the point to Raw here. I'm sorry, but even with the commercial breaks, Goldust vs Bret Hart was more interesting and even more competitive. This match was a horrible main event from Nitro. There's no reason why Flair vs Savage shouldn't have gone on last here. The Horsemen in the Dungeon of Doom try to attack Hulk Hogan after the match. Savage comes down to help Hogan, and the Zodiac once again stops the Giant from attacking the Hulkster. Post-match promos will end this episode of Reliving the War. Savage and Hogan have something they need to say on Nitro, while Vince McMahon gets a few words from WWF Champion Bret Hart. McMahon wants to know Bret's feelings about the in-your-house cage match with Big Daddy Cool Diesel. Bret says that the fans of the WWF were robbed of a clean decision last night at the Royal Rumble because of Diesel. Bret says he knows that The Undertaker feels like he had the match won, but Bret doesn't feel the same way, and it's a shame that the score couldn't be settled again because of Big Daddy Cool. Bret then says that Diesel has been a thorn in his side ever since the Survivor Series, and Bret will put an end to Diesel's shenanigans inside the steel cage at In Your House. Bret calls Undertaker his brother, and he promises to give The Undertaker a WWF title rematch down the road. A short but effective interview that let us know exactly how Bret felt about the Royal Rumble and his opponent in the upcoming steel cage match. Over on Nitro, Hulk Hogan tells Savage that defeating One Man Gang brings him one step closer to a WCW title shot against the Macho Man, and then the Hulkster says he can't wait to show everyone the secret weapons tomorrow at the Clash. Lean, Mean, Kevin Green and Miss Elizabeth will be in the corner of Savage and Hogan. The crowd pops for Miss Elizabeth and they seemingly don't care about Kevin Green. Savage says that the Giant and Ric Flair are dead meat, and so the table is set for the Clash of Champions tomorrow night. Mean Gene sends it back to Bischoff and company, where the Clash show is given some further hype. Another point for Raw, we see so much of the hot dogging Hulk Hogan on Nitro, while the WWF keep their champion kinda off the radar during weekly shows. Whether this is a good or bad thing is up for debate, but the Bret Hart promo addressed quite a lot, while Savage and Hogan didn't really share any new information. Two pretty good episodes of Raw and Nitro this week that were kinda let down by the main events. Vader's first appearance on Raw was a real treat, and it was very memorable. The first WCW World Heavyweight title change on Nitro was also quite historic, but still, I enjoyed Vader's debut much more because it felt so fresh. Triple H and Razor Ramon failed to outperform Dean Malenko and Brian Pillman, while Sting and Lex Luger winning the tag team titles helped Nitro score the next point. One Man Gang vs Hulk Hogan was an awful match. It failed to beat a Raw main event that was littered with commercial breaks. And finally, Bret Hart's promo on Raw held a lot more weight than the Savage and Hogan promo, a promo that we're seeing on a weekly basis at this point. Again, two good shows, both are recommended, but Raw wins this week's episode of Reliving the War. Raw now has 6 points, Nitro has 10, and there's been 3 ties. Raw also won in the television ratings this week, bringing in a 2.9 against Nitro's 2.7. Next week on Raw, we will see Shawn Michaels and Diesel in action while WCW presents their Clash of the Champions Fallout show. I hope you join me again for more Reliving the War next week, and thank you very much for watching.